Welcome to Maturity. Today we're looking at the Maturity Service Library. Sometimes statistics bring quite astonishing facts to light. For example, in 2007, 480,000 Mercedes A-Class cars were sold worldwide, but only 2 of them were absolutely identical. It turns out that, even for an entirely normal production model, there are an inconceivable number of variations. It makes you wonder how so much customization can be economically feasible. The secret is in the features package, which groups specific components together. This makes it easier for the buyer to create their dream car, and for the manufacturer to increase their profitability as manufacturing complexity is reduced. The conclusion that car manufacturers came to long ago is still being worked out in IT. How to achieve a reduction in complexity while maintaining and even improving performance. Or to put it another way, achieving a high degree of customer focus and profitability through a high level of standardization. The question is, where can IT go with this strategy?
For as long as there have been IT departments, managers have always felt challenged by the same question. Are our IT costs on a par with our IT performance? For years, IT costs have been driven down while performance has improved. In the past, efforts have concentrated mainly on exploiting economies of scale, and so more automation, fewer staff through centralization, and standardized applications have led to a dramatic fall in cost per unit of output. At the same time, however, consumption has increased tremendously, which has leveled out gains in cost effectiveness. And, on closer examination, costs are even increasing slightly overall. Anyone looking for competitive advantage that they can exploit today will certainly only find it now in the IT infrastructure. Components such as networks, data storage and communications have long been seen as commodities, as everyday items.
Companies have recognized that any new potential for optimization is much more likely to be found in the standardization of services. Service packages, in other words, how IT services are put together, are where competitive advantage can be created. It is to IT what the features package is to the automotive industry.
An IT service or IT product is a service that is provided by IT for the company or for an external customer to support the aims of the company. The IT service is defined for a client. They need resources, hardware, software, and staff. And with these resources, they provide a continuous service that can be accessed by the customer. Let's take as an example a managed desktop, the PC workstation. The resources here are the desktop computer, the software, and the network, as well as centralized services, operations, and maintenance personnel. But even within a single company, there can be a great number of managed desktops that have been put together in different ways, as services in the past were often only defined for a specific purpose, and without adhering to a strict structure over the years.
The assumption has to be made that although many IT services are well designed, they would not have been sized or customized for the customer's needs or charged in the customer's interest. The questions that IT managers and business managers have to ask themselves today are: how do I achieve cost transparency for my service package? How do I find out if the customization of our IT services equates to those currently on the market? How do successful companies in the IT market tailor their services? And these questions are becoming more frequent and more urgent all the time. There are various reasons for this.
Ease of comparability. The closer to the market a company tailors its services, the faster and more certain it will be able to decide on whether certain services can be designed more cost-effectively in-house, or whether to call in outsourcing quotations from external service providers. Focusing services. In many companies, there is little structure to IT services. The standardization and restructuring of the service portfolio helps IT to exploit new potential cost savings, and supports users in making conscious decisions about their requirements.
Therefore, IT department service directories need to be harmonized, ballast has to be thrown out and greater transparency created. Not least because of the statutory regulations for charging between associated group companies. Auditors demand transparency and proof that costs are commensurate. As yet, there are still no standards in this area, but there is great potential here because where service packages are optimized for users in line with the market, there's no place for costly spare capacity. The only problem is, who judges whether an IT service is in line with the market? This is where the Maturity Service Library comes in.
In benchmarking and outsourcing projects, a question that is repeatedly put to maturity is, how can we optimize our services and improve comparability with the market? Although no definitive market standard exists, by analyzing the service contracts in our database, we have found that certain customizations cropped up frequently in a huge number of IT services. From among hundreds of internal and external service agreements, we have been able to identify efficiency drivers and filter out examples of best practice regarding how to structure services. In practice, quasi-standard services have become established that are highly visible in the market.
The result is the Maturity Service Library, or MSL for short. The MSL is a directory of proven service descriptions that has a clear structure for recording and describing IT services with complete entries and no overlaps, and through which service content can be easily assessed. So what does that mean? First of all,
(1) By using the MSL, IT departments or service providers can bring transparency to their service directory. 2. They can be clear in their own minds as to how successful companies structure their IT services. 3. Based on the MSL, the required services can be either adapted to the usual market level or purposely customized where it might be useful. 4. By linking up with the Maturity database, companies can also have access to relevant target prices for services very quickly from the market. The directory describes more than 60 different services at the technical level in the following dimensions: service content, service structure, service quality, service technology, service cost drivers, service charging values.
and so the MSL answers the question, what do I get for my money? It helps to reveal cost drivers, and very economically at that. Managers can use it to monitor whether their in-house or bought-in IT services are on a par with the current market standard in terms of content and cost, whether there are any variations and what risks might arise as a result. So how does it work in detail?
The MSL guidelines cover the entire infrastructure. It has a hierarchical structure and covers the essential content for each service. Description of the services covered. Delineation of any related services. Functions covered by the service in key words. Significant cost drivers. Technical and quality features. Most common charging units. This structure allows the individual service infrastructures of an IT organization to be mapped in a clearly defined project, and thus prepare the basis for making relevant comparisons with peer companies. It also ensures that any gaps or overlaps in service cover are addressed. These can be analyzed specifically in order to improve the transparency and cost-effectiveness of the entire IT infrastructure.
Let's go back to the 4 key uses of the MSL. 1. For establishing service directories. Service directories form the basis of structured provision and help to bring service proliferation under control and thus cut out inefficiencies.
With an MSL project, IT managers can be certain that their own service setup is complete and that their services are on a par with the current market level in terms of quality, complexity and customization.
2. for analysing gaps. Any variation of an IT structure from the services described in the MSL forms the basis for analysing gaps in service sufficiently.
The MSL exposes any differences in individual services in the areas of quality, complexity and tailoring in order to assess the potential for improvement at the company.
3. For benchmarking projects, gap analysis can be rounded off with a detailed benchmarking project. This involves comparing selected IT services of an organisation with the current market prices for the various services.
Through benchmarking projects, IT managers and internal auditors are able to identify the precise situation in individual areas of internal IT departments and where there is a need for action. Savings can be made where it is strategically and economically useful to do so without running the risk of underfunding efficiently run areas.
4. For outsourcing agreements. MSL projects enable IT organisations to check whether their outsourced services vary from the current market standard.
Benchmarking provides leads for any adjustments to service levels necessary for bringing costs into line with requirements. The MSL also serves as a measure for identifying service content and comparing contracts and quotations.
What makes MSL special is its authenticity. All the data it contains reflects the reality in companies. The current reality, as the service library is a living and changing entity. It is periodically adjusted for new market trends, and thus represents a collection of up-to-date examples of best practice. The MSL gives IT managers accessibility to the multitude of service packages available and answers important questions such as, am I competitive with this IT service and up to speed with the market? And then what? It can also be used as a basis for the possible restructuring of IT service provision.